We are joined now on The Flash, I'm very pleased to say, by Mr. Rusty Apper. He is a rock and blues musician and singer-songwriter from Hampshire. Welcome to The Flash, Rusty.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, you first contacted us here back in July of 2013, and at that time you were promoting your then new EP called Keep the Faith, which you sold on iTunes, I believe, to raise funds for Cancer Research UK.
That's right,
now,
yeah.
Tell us about that EP and how it came about.
Well, I'm not typically a massive fan of EPs. I would rather put my efforts into a full album. But to be honest with you, I've always found the cancer thing as a very personal subject, as unfortunately a lot of people in my family have died. And I just thought, well, it'd be really nice to do something for charity because it gets people interested and it's a great cause. And I had a few songs sort of knocking around that were just kind of I needed to record them because they were bigger than an album could be, with the message behind them. So I thought, well, I have to do something special with these songs just because I think that's what they deserve. And obviously I think it's a good way to bring people together, definitely.
Yes, wonderful. And a great cause as well, Cancer Research UK. Now, we're going to play a track, your first track on this particular interview, and it's going to be from Keep the Faith, and strangely enough, it's the title track called Keep the Faith. And we've been playing this from time to time over the last couple of years because we like it so much. So let's have a listen to Rusty Apper and Keep the Faith from his EP, Keep the Faith.
Uncle
So that was Keep the Faith by Rusty Apper from his EP of the same name, which he brought out, the EP, to raise money for Cancer Research UK. May I ask, how much money did you manage to raise for Cancer Research?
Well, actually, at the moment, it's still ongoing. I'm still selling a lot of copies. So, but it was in the hundreds. I think the last time I checked, it was about 200. So
Brilliant.
I'm tallying it up, and then I'm going to send it away. So I'm still, it's an ongoing project.
So it's still on iTunes for sale.
It is indeed.
With all proceeds going to Cancer Research.
That's right.
Right, so listeners, go on to iTunes when you've listened to this interview and look for Rusty Apper and Keep the Faith and purchase the EP. Every single penny goes to Cancer Research UK. You get to help a very good cause and also get some fantastic music as well. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, Rusty, whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Southampton, for my sins, born and bred.
For your sins? What?
Yeah.
Why for your sins?
I'm only kidding. No, I do like Southampton. It gets a lot of stick, and a lot of people I know are very down on it. But to be honest, I think there's a lot worse places
you always get the business, the football business, don't you, between Portsmouth and Southampton?
I'm not a football fan, but I'm sure there's a good reason behind it.
I don't know. Anyway, tell us about the early days within your musical career, if I can say that. How and when did you first get involved in music?
Well, when I was in school, I was the drummer in the school band, and I was dreadful because I grew up on a diet of bands like The Who, Led Zeppelin, Cream, Jimi Hendrix and guys like that. So the drummers were very busy, and the drummers were very kind of like, they wanted to be like the lead drummer in the band. So I was kicked out because I did too much, and then we got a band together in college, and I was the only one who could really hold a note singing-wise, so it was just like, well, I write the songs, so I may as well sing, and then it kind of stemmed from there. And then as time went on, around 2008, we started gigging, and that's really when things kind of like took off with my old band Gecko. And that's all I can tell you, really. It all stemmed from a healthy/unhealthy diet of old rock and roll vinyl records.
So your band's Gecko that you got involved with. Tell us about the sort of stuff they used to play, or you used to play within the band.
I mean, Gecko was just kind of like a mirror image of all the stuff we listened to. So it was like classic rock, blues, really blues-inspired classic rock, just old-style tunes, really. Nothing that sounded like it was from today, but obviously with a modern spin on like production value. And
so it's
like
basically a mixture of classic rock favourites that influenced the members of a band, including
we
yourself.
just watched the telly and listened to the radio and said, wow, I really want to do that. So we just did the best we could, really.
Now, you eventually broke away from bands altogether and went solo, didn't you? Tell us why and when you decided to do that.
Well, the thing is with bands is, with the territory, there's always a lot of politics. And, I mean, there's good reasons and bad reasons for it. And, people get under each other's skin. But I think everyone in their life gets to a point where their creativity erupts and they think, I just want to do what I want to do. I want to be in control and do exactly what I want to do, even if it's just once. And if it fails, then that's fine. But and I just felt like I've got a lot of songs written that need to be done in a different kind of way. And plus, in a strange way, not blowing my own trumpet or banging my own drum, rather. As a drummer, I was quite confident, and I didn't feel like I had too much to prove. But as a singer, very much so, I felt like I had a lot to prove left. So I thought, well, why don't I step out and have a go at being a frontman? And I was curious if I could do it, and that's why I called the album No Cure for Curiosity, because I was just kind of like, could I make it as a frontman? No, I possibly couldn't.
And this No Cure for Curiosity was your first solo album in 2011.
That is it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll be playing a track from that very shortly.
Cool.
First of all, how would you describe your solo music that you write and perform?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I must say that the solo stuff isn't too different from the Gecko stuff. I mean, everything I do is very similar in a sense that I don't mind if people were to call me samey. That's cool, because that's in my soul. Do you know what I mean? That's the stuff I really love. But it is blues-inspired rock and roll. It is just stuff that hopefully sounds like yesterday.
Rather than samey, I would prefer to say consistent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. But there's always the naysayers.
Okay, right then, Rusty. Let's hear something from your first solo album, which you released in 2011, No Cure for Curiosity. I love the name of the album as well. That's brilliant. And what track are we going to hear from that album?
Well, we've actually got a bit from a session that we recorded especially for today's show, and this is the first track, I believe, off the album. It's called Bachelor's Blues.
Okay, let's hear it. Rusty Apper there from his first solo album from 2011, No Cure for Curiosity. That was Bachelor's Blues. Now then, Rusty, soon after you produced your first solo album, you went on not one but two tours. Now, tell us about these particular tours. How did they come about? Because for a solo individual to decide to go on a tour must be a bit of a brave thing to do. Or did you go with other musicians?
Well, basically, I got together a group of lads, a group of friends of mine. We called ourselves Rusty Apper's Runaway Train, and we just kind of like branched out. And obviously, I love playing locally. There's a lot of fantastic venues, but you can't be going beyond your comfort zone and travelling out, because I mean, we did places like Winchester and London and Southsea and so on, and there's a lot of fantastic venues out there. So just sort of wanting to take it a little bit further, you know.
So you managed to find a group of musicians to join you with your two solo tours that obviously wanted to do and enjoyed the type of music that you personally wanted to create. How did you manage to find a group of musicians that had the same kind of musical taste as you? How did that happen?
Well, I guess I'm just lucky to know a lot of talented people and a lot of people from the same kind of upbringing, I think. So it was just a case of putting the music out there and saying, look, I want to put together a band, it's going to have my name above it, and we're going to be playing my tunes. But you know, there's no dictatorship or anything like that. It's a real laid-back thing. So if you just want to come along, have a good time, play some tunes, then let's do it. So it was really simple. It was not difficult. And like I said, I'm not an ego guy, and I'm not really like a big heavy leader kind of guy. It was really fun and chilled out, and we just had a great time. The only difference was it was primarily the stuff I'd written, and we were going beyond just the local kind of, venues and whatnot. But it's just, as I say, it's who you know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, a few people that had worked on the album was kind of like not really doing a whole lot, and I sort of said, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come out on tour and do this? And and I said, if you've got a problem with the fact that it's kind of like not my show per se, but the fact that it's got my name above it and we're promoting my album, then obviously I understand that, because if you want to do your own thing, I don't want to get in the way of that. But no, I think it's just reaching out to people and just being honest about it. And I just said, look, I just want to go out, have a good time, get drunk a few times and play some good music, and that's pretty much how it came together. I was very lucky, though.
Absolutely. Now, very shortly, we're going to play a track that you've chosen, which I believe you played a lot during those two solo tours from 2011 and 2012. So we're going to play that very shortly. But first of all, I believe you said before we started this interview that you had an amusing story regarding these tours.
Well, there was a funny story. There's loads of funny stories, a lot of which I can't remember, but one of them in particular was on our London gig. I'll try and put it into a nutshell. We were playing at a place called Jazz After Dark in Soho, which Amy Winehouse had played there, and another story altogether is that it was a complete and utter shrine to Amy Winehouse. Right. But anyway, we were in the middle of sort of rush hour traffic, and suddenly in like the busiest part of London, the car, bear in mind the radio's off, we're all getting annoyed because of the traffic, and we're thinking, are we going to miss the sound check and so on? So the radio's off and we're all stressing out. Suddenly the car just pushes to a stop, just stops dead in the middle of traffic, but the radio just booms on, and then all you can hear is the sort of choirish a cappella part of "We're on the road to nowhere," and we all looked at each other and thought, "Have we died? Is this heaven?" And it was so surreal. But of course, and then we were back to reality when we realised we had to get out and push the car through rush hour London traffic all the way down to a back alley in Soho. But it was very funny and very strange that the radio would come on at such a choice time with such a choice song. So how rock and roll.
So for the rest of your life, whenever you hear that track, Road to Nowhere, you're going to think of that particular instance.
We're still not entirely sure whether we saw God or not.
Okay, then let's hear a track that really, I guess, in your mind, sums up the 2011-2012 two solo tours that you had with your fellow musicians. What's the track that you're going to choose for this?
It is a tune called Son of a Gun, and it's a really bluesy ZZ Top style track. We played it quite a lot on the tour, and I play a bit of harmonica on it, and it's a good fun song. I've got a lot of fond memories of singing it. Some sober and some not so sober.
Okay, let's hear Rusty Apper now with Son of a Gun.
call the lose. When it comes to war, you couldn't fill my shoes. Take your best shot, I'll take it well. When you're fighting with the devil, I'm gonna raise hell. I'm gonna raise hell. Well, I'm gonna raise a little hell just for you. Well, I'm a cold-hearted, straight-talking son of a bitch. You might do a lot of things, but you ain't gonna do this. Mess with me, man, and you're gonna get hurt. Well, I'm the one who's gonna leave you lying in the dirt. Well, I'm dangerous, wild and dangerous. Oh yeah. Who's ready for a little bit of hell?
So, to bring back memories for Rusty of his 2 solo tours over the period of 2011 and 2012, that was Rusty and Son of a Gun. Now, you sent in an email to me some information about yourself, and one bit that interested me, being in radio myself, is that you have actually been a radio DJ. Now, tell us about that.
Well, basically, I think it was about 2011, during a break from the tour, there was an opening on a local radio station, and I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to give it a go. So I basically just was like, wow, I must give this a go. So I sent in a little, I guess, audition or a little demo, whatever, because obviously the joy of having a home studio and recording your own stuff means you've got a lot of nice microphones.
Yes,
so then instantly you can get that cool radio voice with very little work. But yeah, so I sent that, and she was like, oh, this is really cool. How would you like to do a rock show, and so on. She passed away last year, God bless her. So it's a real shame about that. But I have very fond memories of the radio station.
Tell us about the radio station. I know generally radio stations don't mention other radio stations. I don't know why. But tell us about the radio station that you started to do programs with.
It was called Spitfire FM. And it was just like a community radio. It was just one of those. It was just nice, easy, fun, and everyone kind of like pulled together, and we did a lot of events and stuff. And it was good. It was a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they don't mention other radios. It's not really like promotion, is it? It's not really going to do you any harm.
Really. Not at all. Well, you'll have to do some programs for us at the Flash.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. There's an invitation on the programme.
Cool.
Right, now, Rusty, tell us now about your writing, because this is another thing that you told me about. You seem to be doing so many things. I don't know where you get the time to do it.
It's called spreading yourself too thin.
Spreading yourself too thin. I know about that myself. But as well as for music, you're also in the process, I believe, of writing a book.
Yes.
Tell us about this.
I'm not a writer at all, but I've tried so hard to kind of carve a small legacy of music and make a career of it for so long. And there's been so many crazy things have happened. And I also noticed that when you go and you buy like an autobiography of a famous rock star, it's all about how he hung out you know, in LA in the 80s, and he carried Eddie Van Halen's guitar amp in, and then Eddie said, hey, do you want to play bass on my band, and so on and so on. I mean, that didn't actually happen, but those kind of things, where you could kind of just be in the scene, and then suddenly you're a roadie, and then you're the bass player, and then you're in the band, and then you're Aerosmith, and then you're whoever. But music isn't really like that now. I mean, the scene is changing so much, and nobody's really written a book about what it's like for like a white guy in England to make it as a kind of a bluesy rock kind of outfit, and it's completely different, because the scene that I was slugging away at was primarily indie stuff and real kind of like screamy metal stuff, and that's what's really popular and was popular when me and my blues band were trying to make it. Because I mean, it's not that we're not into that stuff. I've got respect for every kind of music, but that's not what we wanted to play. So it's not like I think that anybody gives a damn about my life or me as a musician. It's more about the funny stories that I think anyone can enjoy, and anybody who either has been in a band, anybody who wants to be in a band in the kind of day and age that we're in now, can kind of read it and kind of get an idea of what to expect, because it's bittersweet. There's funny stuff in there, there's sad stuff, there's frustrating things, but ultimately it's just, that's what the music scene is like today, and it's so different. So
that's right.
So if you want to dream big and you want to read, say, like Steven Tyler's book or whatever, or like a book about Kiss, then that's cool. But you can't get any kind of advice from that, because the scene is so different now.
Yeah.
I mean, if I thought, hey, I'm going to be in a band, so I'm going to go to LA and hang out in the right bars, those right bars aren't really there anymore, and that's not, you know, I can't go to Abbey Road and hang out outside and expect to see John Lennon wander out and go, hey man, can I give you a hand on your new album? And maybe he might say yes. You know, things like that have happened, but this is like 20, 30 years ago or more, you know. So that's the whole point of the book.
To play devil's advocate here, some people might turn around and say, well, why would anybody be interested in a book from you, because you're not a major big star. You're not John Lennon, as you mentioned, and you're not Jimi Hendrix. But then again, one thing that comes to my mind is it's more potent to read a book from somebody who is still very much working up the ladder than it is to hear stories from somebody that's already up there and has been a big star for so many years.
I mean, I've had a lot of brushes with some amazing things. I mean, my old band, like we did a gig and supported Paul McCartney's son, and we've done touring. We did a mini tour in Finland. We've done a lot of cool things, and we've hung out with a lot of famous people, and there's been a lot of brushes. But I mean, I'm very much a young guy who's still very hungry, who's been doing it for nearly 10 years now, and I haven't quote unquote made it, whatever that means. But I'm having a good time. The music's out there. And, you know, I do have fans, and I still enjoy it. And I don't know if I'm as hungry now as I was when I was younger to be a big famous rock star, whatever that means, you know. So I think that the book isn't so much like, oh, wow, I must read this guy's book because I know his name. I think it's more about, I'm not so deluded that I'm going to think that everyone's going to want to read about me, but I think that people will enjoy the book when I actually get around to like getting it out there and getting it finished, because I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to. And I think if those guys who are out there who may hit 40, 50 and they think, I was in a band once and we gave it our best shot, we did some cool things, but we never quite cracked it, which is the story of millions of people out there, can read that and go, yeah, that sounds like something that happened to me. And I just think it's a fun story. Ultimately, it's not a sad tale, but I think it's something that you can enjoy. You know? So
I imagine if you're writing a book of this kind, you must keep a good diary. Do you keep a diary of what happens, or is it from memory?
The book is the diary. I've been.
You're writing it as you go along, basically.
It wasn't like that originally. I got frustrated around the time when I went solo. That's when I started writing things down. And I thought, wow, that's a really funny story. Hang on, that's a really funny story. Oh, I can't believe that happened last week. So it's not so much I write a diary. They're all so crazy and ridiculous that they're never going to leave my memory, hopefully. Knock on wood that I don't get, you know,
one thing that you said earlier on about you know, I haven't made it yet, whatever that may mean. Well, in my mind, if you're creating music that you really enjoy, and you're enjoying performing, everybody that comes to see you perform are enjoying it. If everybody's getting enjoyment, including yourself, and I guess especially yourself, if you're enjoying what you're doing, then you've made it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't feel unfulfilled. I don't sometimes there's things I see people doing, I'm thinking, man, I wish that could be me. But I never wake up and think, what am I doing? Oh, I can't believe I'm still playing these venues. I can't believe it. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy just to have a microphone in my face.
And with a lifestyle like that, I mean, if you're not enjoying it, then there's no point in doing it, because if a performer isn't enjoying what they're doing, then the audience aren't going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And there's a thing that I'm very that's very important to me, that I try and live by, that I wrote in the book, actually, where I say, basically, if in 10 years' time my album ends up in like the bargain bin, like in like a petrol station somewhere, and you can buy it for 50p or 99p, if one person walks in and goes, well, that looks interesting, buys it, I'm happy. You know, I'm not worried about, I must be in HMV, I must be in the top 10. Those things just, I think when you're younger, you worry more about that stuff because you think that that's what's important. But now, I'm just like, hey, I'm having a good time, and hopefully whoever comes to see me has a good time as well. And if they buy an album, even better. You know? That's
right. So with this book, then, one thing that I'm interested in, I mean, obviously, it's a continuous project, because as your days and weeks and months and years go by, you're adding to the book constantly, as you would a diary.
Yeah.
So at what point are you going to think, well, we're at the end point, my book is finished?
Well, the funny thing is, I'm at 60,000 words, so I could end it now. It's long enough to end it now, but I think I kind of made a pact with myself that I'm going to get this tour done, then the new album, then maybe end it there, see if there's any interest in it, and if I can get it released, actually published, then that's great. And then maybe if anybody wants to hear more, then maybe I can think about writing some more, because I'm hoping I'll still be performing. But otherwise, you know, I can always go down the self-publishing route. But yeah, I think it will be a day reasonably soon. Well, I'll have to say, right, it's done. It's time to edit it and go over all the mistakes I've made.
I think it's a very costly process, isn't it, to actually self-publish?
Yes and no. It's not too different from self-publishing your own music. There's a lot of risks involved, but also it can be a good outcome. For a book, it's slightly different. I think people are more likely to take a chance on some music they don't know, depending on like a vibe they get from the performer or whatever. Whereas a book, they're like, oh man, I have to read this, you know, because reading, no matter who you are, no matter how much you might love reading, if it's not like what you're totally pumped to read, it's a bit of a chore. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that it's bad material. I just mean if somebody came to me and said, look, you've got to read this, and I'll be like, oh really? Okay, I'll give it a go, you know. So it could be costly, we'll see. But hopefully somebody will pick it up, you know, who knows?
Okay. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about the music. It's turned out to be a book club. But and it's interesting to hear about your book, sir.
Thank you.
Have you got a title for it already, or is that something that's going to come up in the future?
That's another thing I have to think very carefully about, because like I said, I don't want anybody to think that I'm writing it about me, because it's not like I'm ever going to call it like, you know, Rusty Apper, My Life in Music, because it's so not about that. And I really worry about people thinking that I'm some sort of deluded egomaniac. I was thinking maybe I was in a band once, or as something people might say when they're older, or maybe rock a lull. But I'm only joking. I have no idea yet. We'll see. I might leave the title up to someone else, maybe. I might let them read it and then they can get it. You know.
Okay. Now, we're going to move towards the music again. And as we do, you were mentioning about, well, we were talking about publishing and self-publishing books. What are your thoughts on the internet and how it's really opened up for independent musicians to actually go out there, record some music and put it on iTunes for sale, and it's straight out there? I mean, how much has that changed your life musically?
Well, put it this way: if I didn't have all the perks of the internet that I do, it would be a lot more difficult and a lot more costly for me to get my music out there. And it's more about getting people interested and having people hear it, because that's the whole point. But the internet's great. I think it's a dichotomy, because it's the same with YouTube. You go onto YouTube and there's a million amazing videos that are from people who really need to have their story shown. But then there's a million dreadful, ridiculous videos, and you're like, why is this on the internet? You know. And I suppose music is similar sometimes. I think people can kind of get their time to shine a bit too soon, when I think they still need to learn a few things. But I'm not one to judge anyone. But I think that the internet is primarily, it's a good thing. It can be abused, but I think it's a good thing.
It's a great thing for musical democracy, isn't it?
Definitely.
The thought that some unknown person that's not within a record company, or supported by a record company, and all their millions could, in theory, get really popular.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people have done things independently, and people have become millionaires, and people have sort of been really, really successful, and that opens the eyes of big sort of conglomerate companies.
Yeah, I guess they get out there, get many hits on the internet,
definitely,
and then record companies think, oh, this is interesting. There must be record companies that are constantly looking at YouTube.
I think so.
For new.
I think, to be
artists.
honest with you, that again, getting back to the reason why I wrote the book. Again, you don't get so much A&R reps coming to gigs, talent scouting these days. That doesn't really happen much anymore. I mean, a bit in London now and again, but I mean that's kind of a bit of a thing of the past. But I think, to be honest, the new kind of talent scouting is the internet. I think a lot of them do spend a lot of time on YouTube and on SoundCloud and so on, listening and looking at stuff and saying, I think that guy's got something. Maybe we should, wow, he's got 10 million hits. If we can change that into 10 million sales, then there's dollar signs, cha-ching. I mean, that's what they're all for.
Of course.
But I mean, hey, if somebody gets their name out there and it makes their lifetime, then so what,
Brilliant. Let's bring things up to date now, because I believe you've started another tour.
I have.
A mini tour. And it's called Rusty Apper, I Got It Covered.
That's right. It's a mini tour turning into a maxi tour. We've got about 15 dates now. So.
Right, okay. Whereabouts did you start the tour, and whereabouts are you going with it?
Well, I started it at my favourite bar in Southampton town called The Strand. Little plug there for my favourite little drinking hole. But really, it's mainly Southampton. Again, there's going to be Southsea. I haven't. And a few other places in there, but it's basically just kind of a local thing and just a chance to go out and have a good time. So
now, I don't believe, my memory's not that brilliant, but I don't believe you've actually emailed us the details of where you're going with this tour, have you? For gig dates?
At the moment, there's still a lot of dates to be confirmed. I'll send them over to you
if you can. That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
But at the moment, I mean, only yesterday I got offered a couple more dates, so until we're probably a good 5-10 dates in, I think then we'll be at a point where we're saying these are the dates, they're not changing. Do you know what I mean?
So it's progressing all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it started off as about 8 and then it was 10 and now there's 15. Tomorrow it could be 20, who knows. Okay. Hopefully. I'll play anywhere that will have me and anywhere that won't.
Sounds good. Now, another thing that sounds good is the idea of playing another one of your songs, because I think it's about time we did that again. Rusty, tell us what we're going to hear now, because it's actually a track that you've chosen that I believe you're going to be playing within your mini tour, or have been playing within your mini tour already. Tell us about the song we're going to hear.
Clucking Mad, I believe.
Clucking Mad. Yes. Now, tell us about this song and where you got the title.
The title is kind of is a bit of a joke on the obvious, but it's basically about when you're a kid and you realise you want to be a rock star, and you tell your mum, "Hey mum, when I grow up I want to be a rock star, I want to play guitar, I want to do this and that," and your mum turns around and says, "I think you should get a real job." And your mum just wants to tell you that you're clucking mad, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. Okay,
so with that in mind, let's have a listen to Rusty Apper and Clucking Mad. Cool.
I need
So that was Rusty Apper and Clucking Mads. Now then, Rusty, tell us about what you're going to be doing after this mini tour called Rusty Apper Got It Covered has finished. You don't really have any idea how long the tour's going to go on for, because as you said before, it's progressing. You could end up anywhere and it could take another year. But when the tour is over, you've already decided that you're going to be starting work on your third studio album. Now, have you got any ideas for this studio album?
Well, the weird thing is, as I said before, I do tend to do things a bit backwardsly. So the majority of it is written. Most of the lyrics are all written, and a lot of the riffs and the music is put together. So all I have to do now is actually fine tune that, find out where the verses are going, and so on. And so I've got a nice clear idea of how it's going to sound. So I'm just really excited. I mean, it's exciting anyway to start a new album, but when you know how it's going to come out, and you're like, I'm really excited about how that song's going to end up, and so on and so forth, or I'm really excited about singing that part, that makes it even more exciting. So yeah, I've got a good idea. I think it's going to be hopefully it'll be the best album.
Do you regard that an album should necessarily have a particular subject that gels all the songs together? Did you do that with a particular album, or does it just sometimes happen, or is it something you aim at?
I would say it's not something that I would aim for. I think sometimes you can be in a vibe and that can come out, and then you listen to it and go, wow, that's got a really such and such vibe to it, or that sounds like that could be about blah blah blah. But then you've got other things like concept albums where you're definitely telling a story. You got like Tommy and The Wall and Quadrophenia and so on, which are some of my favourites. But at the moment, I can't say there's going to be any running theme, because a few people said I'm a Renaissance man, so one day I'll write a song that will be like some kind of epic tune. Like on Kingsnake, there's a song called Doomsday, which is a very kind of epic, apocalyptic kind of tune about Judgment Day and so on. But then of course earlier on in the album there's like a really trashy song about like a motel that's built specifically for affairs. So I mean, there's a real mixture of stuff, and it can go anywhere between cool cars and girls to drinking to rock and roll to heaven and hell. It's really what I'm feeling, to be honest with you.
So it's basically a group of songs that you've written that you really, really like, have worked or are going to work, and you're just going to fit them together on the album.
I mean, I think there's sort of sonically and musically, I'll listen. I will pay attention to what songs fit after the other, because some songs I like it when the tracks start immediately after, or you get a little bit of an overlap, because I mean no one really does that too much anymore, and that was a kind of a nice sort of thing to do, because on the old days of vinyl you didn't have to worry too much about the CDs and that, where the vinyl sometimes the tracks would like overlap and you'd be like, oh, am I listening to the same track? Oh, it's a new track, and that's really kind of cool. So I think there are definitely songs that will be coupled together, but there'll also be tracks that will be like, wow, is this the same album? The genres will never stray too far, but there will be some changes that will make it hopefully not too samey or consistent, as you said so kindly. But yeah, that's pretty much how I try and do things.
Okay, so we look forward to that, and cool. do keep us posted on what you're doing.
Definitely,
when your third studio album comes out, let the Flash be the first people to feature it, please. We'd love to feature it first.
A nice classy premiere is always a good thing, definitely.
Brilliant, thank you very much, sir. Now we've got the last track to play from you, and it's something quite unusual. I haven't heard it yet. I'm looking forward to hearing it very shortly, but I believe it's going to be slightly unusual because it, I believe, has been used for a film. Am I right in saying?
Yes.
Now, this is another aspect of the musical work that you do, and I guess a lot of it's experimental, but you do actually produce music that can be used within films to set scenes.
Yes.
Now tell us how this come about.
The other chapter of my life has been film work. So when I was younger, I always was interested in making films, just your average kind of like home movie type things, and I've worked on a couple of features. For a while I worked quite consistently as a actor stuntman, and then I did some directing and so on. So, but it always came down to the crunch of money. When you're making a film, you know, there's not a lot of that floating around when you're an indie guy. And me having like just enough knowledge of a piano to be deadly, I was like, well, I can do the music myself. And then that kind of stemmed on to writing my own songs and so on. So often when I do the solo stuff, I'll play like a guitar riff on the piano, really kind of like naively, and go, oh, can you reproduce that? So doing film scores is something I've done for quite a while, and I've done well over 50 features now. But that's just something that kind of came out of doing ones for my own little movies, and then people are like, oh, I really dig the music in this, would you do the music for my movie? And who am I to say no? You know, that's the nicest thing when you get a commission.
So I guess you look at the video, sit there with a guitar, with a piano, with a video playing, and just go wherever it takes you, basically.
Pretty much, but it'll all be on a keyboard. Or with MIDI's triggered, because I don't play guitar. I play keyboards all right and that, and obviously I can sing and I play harmonica and drums and other bits and pieces, but guitar is a bit beyond my brain cells. But I mean, that's pretty much how it goes. And often you'll look at a film and you'll go, well, this needs a certain vibe, and then you'll have to go back to the heroes of music, you know, like Bernard Herrmann and guys like Hans Zimmer and real classic film composers, and you go, well, this needs like you know, psycho strings and just
yes.
stuff like that. Really, it's not tricky to do the music for a film, because it's more about the mood. It's not like writing a song. If you're writing a musical, I can imagine that's a completely different thing. But, you know, you can get away with doing a horror score with 3 chords. It's all about the drones and the sounds, and sometimes it's more noises that are not pleasing to the ears that make it, you know, and sometimes the less knowledge you have of playing for a horror film works better, because the more discordant you can play, you know,
the more dramatic
exactly,
it is. If you want drama, then
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've never scored a comedy, because that just sounds kind of difficult to me. But I've done a lot of horror stuff, a lot of action stuff, a few epic things. But I mean, it's just really good fun. It's just another extension of my, you know, musical arm, if you will. But I'm really just blagging it. I just want people to know that I'm the luckiest guy in the world that anany would hire me.
Brilliant. So tell us about the films that your music has been included in.
There's a whole bunch of films. I mean, there's a zombie movie coming up called Escaping the Dead, which is a Danish zombie film that I'm doing the score for. There's a film just gone, which was kind of like a grindhousey, tongue-in-cheek film by a Portsmouth director, actually, called Mutant Monks from Outer Space.
Right.
And I did the theme tune for that, which is like a kind of a neo-metal Biker Mice from Mars kind of style thing. And to be honest, there's been a whole bunch of stuff. There's so much. I mean, I'm on IMDb. You can always check that out.
You have to have a great interest in different sounds and different kinds of music to be able to write music scores for different films, because you've got a different variety of films, whether it's you say you haven't done comedy yet, but you've probably done drama, you've done horror films, and to get different sounds that fit the moments,
I think the thing is that a lot of people, because I love my rock and my blues and stuff, people don't always realise, if they were to raid my CD collection and go on my phone and check out my songs, I mean, there's so much stuff. I mean, I love anything. I love the Beatles and all like the classic rock kind of bands, but I also love some electronic stuff. I'm a big fan of like classical. I love like traditional Irish music and Celtic ambience and stuff. Some sort of like Celtic kind of Scottish tunes and that. I'm a big fan of like panpipes and stuff, and jazz. I love jazz. And some Latin. I mean, I love Latin jazz as well. So, I mean, I could talk all day. It's not about the genre or the style. It's about the particular song. You know, I don't care what it is. I mean, I can't say I'm a fan of Justin Bieber, but if there was a song on his album that I liked, I'll put it on my phone. I don't want to be boxed in. I'm not going to be one of those guys. I mean, you don't have to like the person to like their music, right?
No,
but I'll listen to anything, and I do. I've got so much stuff in my collection, so I mean, and I think that's where it comes from. I think it's good to have a sound, but I think it's, in some ways, it's more poignant if you go, wow, is that you? I never knew, you know, I wouldn't ever tell. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. So, definitely, to do the film thing, you definitely need to have a very wide range of music to your ears.
And it must be great, because obviously when you're involved in music, when you're a musician and a songwriter, a composer of music, I guess it's great to actually be able to create music for films, because it gives you a great opening to do all sorts of things. You can
Definitely.
go anywhere with it, can't you?
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that I'd like to ask before we come to the end, on the same subject of doing the music
Sure.
scores for scenes in films, how does it work? I mean, I guess all directors work in a different way, and I guess it's the director that contacts you regarding
Usually,
wanting you to do the music.
Usually, or the producer.
Now, or the producer. How does it work? Do they sort of like send you a series of clips and say, we want music for this scene? Or do they give you the whole... Has anybody given you the whole film and said, right, look through the whole film,
Yeah.
wherever you feel it needs music, create some music for it? Does it sometimes work like that?
Typically, yeah. Typically, they'll send you the whole film, and they'll say, I want you to score the whole film. Sometimes, if they're unsure of how the film is going to come out, or they're struggling with getting a cut in time, I will send them a bunch of music. Sometimes stuff I've done for someone else, and sometimes new pieces, and I'll say, look, this is everything you need. Chop it and change it, do what you want with it, you know. But typically, they will send me a cut of the whole film, a low-quality cut, and then I will put the whole thing together, literally by just purely watching the film and trying to play along to it, pretty much.
Great, brilliant stuff. It's really interesting. Anyway, we've now come to the end of our little chat. I must say, Rusty Apper, rock and blues musician and singer-songwriter from Southampton. For your sins, as you said earlier, but I don't know why.
I don't have too many.
Okay, but Rusty Apper, thank you ever so much for finding the time to join us here on The Flash, and we're going to play your final choice of music. And talking about the film score type thing, this is a piece of music that you put together. I don't believe you put this together for a Halloween film, but I believe it was used in a Halloween film, am I right?
It's been used in a couple of horror movies, low-budget horror movies, with that kind of Halloween-y style to it.
Right.
It wasn't for anything in particular, it was just like, I'd like to write a song that's kind of a real homage to all my favourite horror films. So it's kind of a song from a horror fan to the horror fans. And then a few people were like, oh, can I use this at the end of my film? And I was like, hey, cool, go for it, you know. But to be honest with you, it's one of my favourite songs I've ever written. Something that was put together in about a week on a whim, and I'm really happy with it. And yeah, I'm just I think it's a really cool track. It's good fun.
Does this fit in with our format of rock?
Oh yeah, it's still very much rocky. Yeah.
Okay. We'll feature it anyway because I can't wait to hear this. So this, I believe, is called Stuck Inside. Stuck Inside.
A horror movie.
Okay, so let's have a listen to this. Get ready to be scared out of your wits. This is the final one from Rusty Apper for now. This is Stuck Inside. Rusty, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If I die before bell tolls.